I'd like to welcome you, Mr. Funzi Ngobeni, on Dope Conversations. I need to give 2 apologies very, very quickly. The first one is, I work on 2 different platforms. This one is called Dope Conversations. I've got another one called The Penwell Show. The Penwell Show sits on a channel called Convo. And we've got, I think, over 140,000 subscribers there. It's doing well. People like it. Dope Conversations sits on another channel called the Penwell Channel. We've got close to 80,000 subscribers. So I've been trying to figure out where to put certain content.
Yes.
And I've been wanting, because it's an election year, to put all political content on the Penwell Show. The problem is we pre-record and we only drop once a week on Mondays.
Yes.
And because elections are a couple of weeks away, literally, we have exhausted our slots. Because ideally I would have wanted you on the Penwell Show and not here. I think it's got a bit of a bigger reach. It's got a bit of a bigger reach, which is the more important thing, especially for you guys that are campaigning.
Yeah.
But I can't say let's not sit because now all the slots up until just before the 29th, we've already recorded.
Yeah.
And look, luckily we've sat with Untate Herman Mashaba as well, who represents ActionSA. But I was like, I need to sit with you. For me, maybe I'll give a little confession. I'm hoping that you win me over in this sit down, because I'm actually still struggling on who to vote for provincially. So that's my first apology. The second apology is I'm tired of political conversations. This is me just to you. The audience doesn't need to know. This is a conversation between me and you. A lot of the stuff I've been hearing from different politicians sounds like a lot of promises, unrealistic expectations, not much of a focus on real service delivery, etc. I can have this gossip. I can have this gossip with you because I've seen the work that your party is doing, and it's fascinated me, and it's part of what I want to speak about today.
Sure.
So those were my 2 apologies. So when you asked before we started, have I changed studio? It's 2 different platforms, and we're sitting here because the other one has kind of been maxed out until the 29th.
No, I understand.
And I do apologize for that.
No, absolutely. I fully understand. I've watched a couple of your shows, and I remember I saw the curtains.
Yes.
So when you were asking about the lights, I was like, okay, no, it
where
means
are the curtains?
No,
the curtains are also gone because we have a different setup where we are there.
Yeah. No, that's
you almost became the mayor of Johannesburg at some point. So I'd be saying ex-mayor, Mr. Funzi Ngobeni. You decided to not pursue that because that was after the DA removed Herman Mashaba as mayor of Joburg. Still my favorite mayor of Joburg to this day. If you can take us maybe back to that moment, and then I'd like to do just a little brief summary on Umfana Semanziville.
Yes.
Why are you not ex-mayor, Funzi Ngobeni?
Yeah, and by the way, Penwell, I mean, when Herman was the mayor, I was what they call leader of executive business, as an MMC of finance as well. From time to time when he was away, whether it's 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, I will be an acting mayor.
Yeah.
So
you filled the shoes.
I've
got
tested the
experience,
office.
So I've been on the field.
Yeah, I've tested the office, obviously with no full mandate. But I mean, so I put my name up after Herman resigned, and we were taken through normal interviews with the federal executives. Helen Zille was one of the panelists, and many other panelists there. I think it was about 20 people that interviewed us, and we reached some sort of a final leg where it was 2 candidates, myself and my former colleague Leah Knott, and the party chose me to become that candidate. And even before then, there were rumors that a number of DA councillors have been bought by the opposition. In fact, if Herman was to stay and a motion of no confidence was to be tabled by the ANC, those councillors were going to vote with the ANC. So I knew about those rumors, and some of them were confirmed to me by some councillors from various political parties that were also approached, you know. But I did put my name up, and I was selected to be the candidate, and we went into election. Jeff Makubu was my contestant, and then we voted secret ballot, and it turned out that indeed a number of DA councillors voted for Jeff.
Jeez.
And Jeff became the mayor of the City of Johannesburg after that result.
May he rest in peace, himself and Jolidi.
Jolidi,
they passed back to back. It was very bizarre at the time.
Absolutely.
So we could have been calling you ex-mayor. Funzi Ngobeni.
I mean, we had the numbers.
Yeah.
We had the numbers. The coalition that time had the numbers. EFF was voting with us. They were not in the coalition, but we had worked with them very well in the 3 years that we were in that Herman was the mayor. So we were quite confident that if things go accordingly, normal being normal, I was going to emerge as the mayor. But at the back of my mind, I had those rumors. I remember my wife saying to me that should we come with you to council? It's a special day. You are going to be elected as a mayor.
Of course.
You know,
it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer, you know. But I said to her, no. I don't think so. I think you guys must watch on TV or go to work. Let's take it as a normal day for you. I did that precisely because of those rumors, you know, and I didn't want to see them breaking down at the gallery, you know, hoping that the husband, your father, is going to be the mayor. And
waiting with posters,
you know.
Jeez.
So I sort of said to them, no, it's fine. Let me go. You guys continue with the business of the day. And the results were as they were, you know, but I think everything happens for a reason. It was my turn to take that type of disappointment from people that we worked with very well. I thought, yes, we disagreed in that caucus robustly, you know, and Herman was Herman, you know, and he was not beating around the bush. But in most cases, I will go in and mediate, you know, and we'll try and find a way of moving forward because all of us wanted to serve the residents. We were differing on fundamental issues, maybe giving service to certain communities, and be realistic and saying, guys, we have taken over a city that is broken. It's not going to be turned around overnight. Let's all work together patiently. Let's all speak to our residents to be patient with us. And from time to time, the message will go through. But in some instances, you'll see some of the councillors being really, quite oppositional, you know, and we couldn't understand what was happening, you know. In some instances, Penwell, because most of the DA councillors will be ward councillors in the suburbs and all that. And they will come to us and say, our residents are complaining, you know. They don't see DA difference, you know. Since we guys took over, they don't see any, you know. And the Herman will say, please arrange a public meeting in that community, so that we can come and engage your residents. And we will go, full house. Suburban community will come and listen to Herman, and the mayor will outline what we have inherited. He will outline the budget that we are putting together, and he will outline the plans on how we're going to spend that budget.
And priorities.
You know. And he will indicate that, colleagues, we have a problem. There's inequality in the city. There are people who are living without toilets, you know. There are people who do not have food on their table, who don't have electricity, you know. We are prioritizing those people. And he will say, is there anyone that disagrees with the approach? You know, and the entire world will be quiet and will say, and people will raise their hand and say, Herman, we support you.
Sure.
go and do exactly that, because we as well, we understand that we can't live in a city where, your neighbor, you just cross the M1 and then you find Alexandra and the conditions that are in Alexandra. So they will understand, and we'll leave that hall with a full mandate to go and execute. But the same councillors will still be coming back and really pushing back and pushing their agenda, basically, So we were not surprised, but we were quite disappointed. But as you already said, I could have been the mayor. But yeah, it didn't happen.
I said to Duntate Herman Mashaba, and one of the questions I asked him is, why were you accused of being an EFF mayor? And he highlighted exactly what you're saying. That when I became mayor of Johannesburg, I was the mayor of the whole of Johannesburg, not the mayor of suburbia in Johannesburg. And the fact that you'd want to prioritize the more impoverished areas. Alex, maybe you can add Soweto, Cosmo, and those places. There were people that would get upset. Why are you busy there? And it highlights exactly what you're saying. But there's inequality. How are we going to fix the whole city if we're only prioritizing certain spaces? And it seemed to upset people. Almost in the same vein that the DA lost certain voters when Musi Maimane was head of the DA, and it looked like there was a certain narrative that certain people didn't like.
Yeah.
And then they'd leave and join the Freedom Front Plus, etc.
Yeah.
What led to your leaving the Democratic Alliance?
And that was one of the issues. But even before Herman resigned, we had sessions with DA councillors, and sometimes we even extended those sessions to the region as Johannesburg, where we will invite councillors to tell us, are you happy with us continuing in this type of a coalition? Because it was a difficult coalition. We didn't have a majority. EFF was voting with us, on issue by issue basis.
They were the kingmaker.
Yes. But we were achieving a lot of things, even under those difficult circumstances. So we had these sessions, and sometimes we'll even invite, the head office, some of the representatives from Cape Town to come and engage with us. Sometimes we'll invite an external company to come and facilitate those type of engagement, so that we can be able to try and bridge the gap.
An impartial third party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And from time to time there will be a question that it will be asked to say, do you guys want to be in government? And we will vote, secretly. Secret vote, all of us in the room, and you'll see the numbers, almost 50-50.
Shocking. Shocking.
What's happening here? Are we with people that really do not understand that to be able to change the living condition of residents, you have to be in government. You have to be there to be able to execute those programs, and also an understanding that we are dealing with an elephant, a big elephant called ANC, and if you want, because there was a vision 2029 in the DA at some point to say 2029 we will be in government and we'll run this government alone, for us to be able to get to that vision 2029, we need to bite this elephant, piece by piece, because once you are able to take ANC out of power, you remove patronage, you remove, corruption that's happening, buying of T-shirts. What is happening currently, for example, closer to elections, people using state resources to campaign. You are taking all those things away from them, and you are then getting closer to removing them out of power altogether. It happened in Cape Town, in the Western Cape, and ANC couldn't come back even today.
Sure.
So we were asking ourselves, our colleagues do not really realize that this is...
Some of them don't want to be in government. It doesn't make sense.
Clearly, So when I resigned, I had really... Herman had left already, and I knew that he was going to start the People's Dialogue to engage citizens. So I reflected and I said, no, but I looked at even the constitution of the DA and I said, this section says we need to take power so that we can be able to change things. But it seems like colleagues are not interested in being in power. Maybe it's because it's Gauteng. Maybe they're happy to just be in power in the Western Cape. But the they're demonstrating to us on daily basis that they are not interested in being in power, you know. So after that assessment, I said, that's the reason why I rejoined politics. You know, I left the private sector and started being active in politics because I wanted to remove the ANC, you know, and it was not going to happen overnight. But with our activism, mobilizing, at some point, ANC will be out of power. But staying with this party, clearly there's no way that's going to happen. So that's how I then resigned and joined the People's Dialogue.
Are you like the rest of us black people, and at some point you believed in the ANC, and then, or from the beginning, did you not believe in them?
No, I believed in. I mean, I was an activist in COSAS at school. Yeah,
No, so the blood has been boiling for a long time.
It's been boiling for a long time. Yeah, in Bloemfontein, I was an activist in COSAS. Our regional leader then was Fikile Mbalula.
Okay.
Yeah,
we know him very well.
He was in Botshabelo. I was in Bloemfontein, but most of his time he was in Bloemfontein, and he was a regional leader, and we worked very well together.
Yeah.
We still talk about those times. So yeah, I voted for ANC 1994. And I stopped voting for them in 2009.
Okay.
Yes, you know.
And then you decided to change.
I decided to change, yeah.
For people that don't know, what is or what was the People's Dialogue, and how did it lead to the formation of ActionSA?
Yeah, so I remember when Herman resigned. Sure, the press conference was chock-a-blocked.
Yes.
I mean, the cameras were all over, and I mean, it was, and I was not surprised because the 3 years that we were in government, we really engaged with the media. We demonstrated everything that we were doing.
You guys were brilliant, man. Jobangisho, Ubab Mashaba is still my favorite mayor to this day. And it's probably partly because he wasn't a political person. He came in, I think, as you came in from the private sector to serve with this naivety of I'm coming to serve, and you didn't know there's these dirty games in the back. No, you guys were quite, even people that didn't like the DA, even people that weren't really sure even about Ubab Mashaba, I think you guys won our hearts over.
No, thank you. We really worked very hard, and he pushed us. He held us accountable. You know, I was telling one of my colleagues that we established, for myself in the finance department, we established a service delivery team, right? Every morning, 7 o'clock, we'll meet with the officials, and we will look at all the deliverables. Are we making progress? Where are the challenges? Where must we as politicians unblock those challenges? You know? So they will discuss with us, they will let us know. And we were making progress. And that was just in my office. In Herman's office, there was also a similar team that will hold us accountable as MMCs. You know? So almost on a weekly basis, we have to report on the progress. And when he resigned, you know, a lot of people said he must start his own political party. And even while we were still working, people were saying, leave these people, you know, they are not interested, you know, they are frustrating you guys. Within the DA, people were saying that, you know. So the People's Dialogue was really formed to establish whether really are South Africans ready for Herman Mashaba, you know, and his values and what he stands for. And that process happened. It started without me, but I joined in February. It started around December. Went January, February.
What years were those? Sorry,
this was 2019. It was 2019, and then it went into 2020. January, February, and then I joined him. And that time he was working only with Michael Beaumont and Andre Coetzee. So I was the fourth person to join them, and then we started engaging. That was almost a month before COVID then was...
we had a hard lockdown, I think, on my birthday, the 15th of March.
Yes.
2020.
You know? So we engaged. I mean, they we used different formats of platforms. I mean, social media, it was emails, it was on Twitter. People were engaging us.
Yeah.
But we also, before COVID hit, also did a lot of public meetings. Went to Soweto, had public meetings in the Ekurhuleni area. I remember we went to Brakpan, that was my first meeting as the People's Dialogue member. And we had the house meeting in one of the estates, and it was packed with middle class and people, and people were saying yes, start a political party, and the values are what you have just described, Herman, because Herman was quite clear from the beginning that if South Africans do not agree with my values, then probably I'm the wrong person. And those values included free market economy, bringing back law and order in the country, issue of immigration. He highlighted all those matters, and South Africans were saying yes, we agree with you, and that's how the People's Dialogue rolled. There was a report, a well-documented report that was compiled. That time, People's Dialogue then had a board of governors, a board of directors, and the report was tabled, and we all agreed that the next step now is to start a political party. Yeah.
Okay, let's go a bit back before. I've got a question about ActionSA, which has been bugging me for years. I've got family, my cousin, a very close cousin, Mohammed, and his mom, Urita, who live in Kreersdorp, in the suburbia there, because my aunt has worked at Sterkfontein Hospital most of her life.
My dad worked there.
At Sterkfontein as well? Jeez, I love watching the rugby there. Hoërskool Monument.
Yes.
And Noordjevel as well. If you can just give us a small summary of Funzi as a lighty. So from Manziville, in the West Rand, how you got into maybe young and then into the private sector before your political journey.
Yeah, Penuel, I was born in Manziville. Obviously, Leratong Hospital was the nearest hospital in Kagiso there. So that's where I was born, and my dad is from Manziville.
Okay.
Mama is from Mafike.
Okay.
Northwest. Both of them they were in the health sector, and I think that's how they met. Mom moved from Northwest to come and work in Gauteng, and she met this handsome young man.
Oh my gosh, I've never seen such beauty in my life.
So that's how they met. So I was born there in Manziville. My grandfather and my grandmother were still alive, and they are the one that actually raised me, because immediately after giving birth, my parents relocated to the Free State.
Okay.
So I was left with my grandfather and grandmother. They raised me in Manziville. My primary education. Up until around standard 2, standard 3.
Grade 4 and grade 5.
Grade 4, grade 5, yes. And that's when my parents decided that they are ready to bring me to the Free State.
Sure.
Yeah. So my entire family is still there in Manziville.
Okay.
And then in Kagiso. My aunts and my cousins, everyone is still here, and I always say to my wife that that's probably where I'm going to be buried.
In Manziville?
Yes.
Okay. That's where your heart is?
That's where my heart is.
Yeah.
I grew up in Bloemfontein.
Where in Bloemfontein?
In Mangaung.
Mangaung.
Yes.
Okay.
I completed my primary school there, went to high school there, went to tertiary there. So I was really raised in Bloemfontein Celtics colours, Siwelele Samasela. Yeah.
So you've gone back. It's not too far off.
The colours are the same.
The colours are the same.
Yeah.
Your mom was a Tswana woman?
It's a Tswana woman.
And your father?
My father was raised by a Motswana woman.
Okay.
My grandmother is from Northwest as well, around Rustenburg.
Okay.
So my grandfather was working in the mines.
Yeah.
And he was not present, most of the time. Tsonga man.
That's where the Funzi Ngobeni comes from.
Funzi Ngobeni
That's
comes, yeah.
Xitsonga.
That's correct. Funzela is a full name.
What is it?
Funzela.
Funzela.
Yes.
Funzela Ngobeni.
Funzela Ngobeni, yes. So I was named after my great grandfather. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was always away. He will come, obviously, and once a year, twice a year.
Yeah.
So all of them, my dad's siblings were raised in Setswana.
Okay.
And a lot of people will say Ngobeni, but you don't.
What kind of
speak,
Setswana? What kind of Tswana man are you?
Yeah. But yeah, they were all raised in Setswana culture and Setswana language. And myself as well, when I grew up in Bloemfontein, I attended Setswana school.
Yeah.
So my Tsonga is very bad.
You are sellout. What kind of Ngobeni is this?
Exactly, that's what people will say. But that's how we were raised. Even my dad as well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, when they called me to Bloemfontein to then finish my primary school there, and went to a high school called Kagiso Comprehensive School. That time it was a progressive school. I mean, it was the first time we had white teachers, in township.
Okay. Kagiso Comprehensive.
Kagiso Comprehensive School.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was called comprehensive because it caters both theory and technical.
That's beautiful.
Yes, so you had some of us who were doing your history and Bible studies and whatever, but you'll find others doing electrical engineering at high school.
Woodwork,
all kinds of those things, So that's why it was called comprehensive school. So I grew up there, and then I completed my matric and went to. At that time, it was called Technikon Free State. It's now called Central University of Technology.
Yeah, CUT.
CUT, yes. And I did my 3-year national diploma in tourism management there. Completed it in record time. And by the time I completed my national diploma, I was expecting a boy.
Hey,
yeah. So my wife and I met when I was doing matric, and she was doing standard 9.
Your wife that you're with now?
That's correct.
That's
yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
You are a reliable man.
So I've been.
Hey, you're not like us. So we can trust you, Babu. You're loyal.
Yeah, no, we have been together up and down, and we are blessed with 2 boys. So my firstborn, 1997. That's when I completed my national diploma, and my dad was saying, "I hear you. You say you want to go to university now. You want to do masters and whatever." He said, "No ways. You have to go and work.
Yeah,
you've got a baby now.
Sure.
So I had to go into the job market, and. I couldn't find anything in Bloemfontein, even after being sponsored by the Department of Tourism for my last year at Technikon Free State. And they had committed that, they will take you in, they will take me in, because they've sponsored my education at least for 1 year. But I couldn't find anything, so I then said, anyway, I'm a Gauteng boy.
Yeah.
Let me go back home.
Sure.
So I then relocated and came to live with my aunt here in Kagiso. Looked for a job, managed to get a job at the hotel.
Okay.
It was called Rivonia Inn at that time. I recently went to see whether it still exists. It's not there anymore. So I worked at the hotel and Rivonia Inn, and later on joined the Don Suite Hotels.
You were in hospitality from studying tourism. At least you were still
I was
on
still
par with what you studied.
Exactly. Leisure, because that was a hotel, and then I joined RCI, which was a leisure company. RCI, they deal with at that time holiday homes.
Okay.
They did exchange of holiday homes. It was called timeshare.
Yes.
So I worked for RCI and then branched out from the leisure industry into the aviation industry.
Please stop there, because there's a question I wanted to ask before you go there.
Yes.
There are people that don't know what a timeshare is. So just for educational purposes, if you could explain. I'm a young, upwardly mobile, black diamond.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing people speak about holiday homes and timeshares. What is a timeshare? How does that work?
So basically, you buy a holiday home.
As an individual?
As an individual.
Okay.
Maybe in Durban or whatever. And maybe it's a standalone holiday home.
Yeah.
With 6 rooms or whatever. And then you always go there in December, you know. And I think the concept was that what do you do with that holiday home for the rest of the year?
Correct.
You know. So then the timeshare industry came up with the concept. No, let's exchange. You know. Penuel owns the one in Durban. Ngobeni owns the one in Cape Town. How about we give you points? You know, as a holiday home owner, we give you points that you can then use them to go to Cape Town and give your home to somebody else who's got the same type of points.
Sure.
You know, so we were basically exchanging the holiday homes, and so people will basically put all their weeks that they own into a pot.
Yeah.
And in that pot, individuals will come and says, I want to go to Cape Town. Which holiday home do you have available on this particular time? Then we give it to them. They give us their points, you know. So that exchange was happening at RCI that time, you know. And it was prospering. I'm not sure what happened to it. I think there was a lot of corruption that happened there.
Yeah, some of these schemes, man, they get complicated and people start doing funny things, unfortunately.
Exactly, you know. But it was really great. I mean, people could go overseas, France. You could go to the
and do exchanges there,
Seychelles, and do exchanges.
As part of this huge pot,
exactly,
of property owners.
You know,
it's beautiful.
It was a beautiful concept, and I was fortunate to work there because part of the benefit was that you can use those holiday homes for free, you know.
No, as someone working.
As someone working.
So because
there.
you work, you look at a slot.
Yes.
It's almost like a hotel room.
Yes.
There's no one booking these rooms, so you can have them.
You can have them for that week. Bring your family. I mean, a hotel in Sun City, you know, all these great resorts that we have in the country.
Yeah.
We managed, you know, by the grace of God, and that we were working there, we enjoyed them as well. You know, we will go to Kruger National Park. We'll go to Sanibonani here in Bela Bela. It was lovely.
So you've lived a soft life, Nje, for a long time in this country.
The private sector was great.
Hey! Have you ever had a dream of owning an airplane? Would you like to own an airplane at any point in your life?
Nah, no. You mean like private jet, something? No.
Private jet.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, I'm in politics, so I will not get there.
Why not?
In politics, public servants don't earn a lot. You know, if you want to make money, and get to do private jets, you need to be Panuel. And
never. So I sat with General Bantu Olomisa of the UDM, and he tells me the story. It will come out at some point, of how he was asked by the late Utatu Nelson Mandela to go on his behalf to one of his daughter's weddings. Eswatini, and he took a private jet to the wedding, and then he came back. I think it was before. I think it was the day Ukrisani would be assassinated, if I'm not mistaken. When he came back, Utatu Nelson Mandela was waiting in his private jet to be like, "Look, I need you to come with me to Joburg," because I think they were in the Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
Listening to that story was fascinating for me. I took a private jet to that. I was waiting, and just recently I was rereading the story of Zunaid Moti.
Yes.
Very powerful businessman in South Africa, and how his private jet has been used by ex-President Jacob Zuma, the current President Cyril Ramaphosa, when the presidential private jet, I don't know if it's called the Ikwezi or
yes.
something like that, was broken. So they'd be flying in these jets.
Yes.
So that's why I interrupted you, because I wanted to sound a bit smart and a bit knowledgeable. The reason I ask, of course, is you've been involved in aviation.
As well.
In what capacity, and how was that tenure for you?
Yeah, it was lovely. I spent about 4 years, I think 6 years at Cathay Pacific Airways.
Okay.
It's a Hong Kong-based airline.
I love Cathay, by the way.
Yes, and my role there, initially I was a customer relations manager.
Yeah.
sitting in office, dealing with queries and all that.
You came from hospitality.
Yes.
It almost makes sense,
you know,
that you're good with people.
Exactly, and the opportunity arose of a sales manager in the region.
Yeah.
And the region will become SADC, and applied, and I was given that role. So I had to. Part of my responsibility was to take Cathay Pacific Airways into Zimbabwe, into Kenya, into Tanzania, into Malawi, Botswana, and other places. Establish offices there, and so forth. So I did that for Cathay Pacific for some time, and it was really also an experience, because I got an opportunity to visit all these countries, and also go to China and go to Hong Kong and other places. So it was really an experience, and I think at that time, obviously, I also got to have a second born.
Hey, your second boy.
Yes, Kumo. Yeah. So the traveling was becoming too much, but also I think my time was coming to a close at Cathay Pacific. I got an opportunity at Air Botswana. So I worked with Air Botswana as well for some time until I left. And just after becoming a councillor, I worked for almost a year doing two jobs as a PR councillor, but also still working in the private sector. I realized that it was not going to continue for a long time, because the job of a councillor, much as, especially if you're not the ward councillor, people think that you don't have a lot to do, But it became very clear that the schedule was not going to allow me. So I then ventured full time into politics.
Into politics.
Yeah.
You mentioned Ukumo. I don't know if you want to give a shout out to your first son as well.
Yes.
Mustn't show favoritism. It's gonna cause beef at home.
It's gonna cause a lot of beef at home. Oba King.
Oba King is your firstborn.
It's my firstborn. He's turning 27 now.
Big boy.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
He's also in the media space. I'm sure you'll meet him one of these days. But he's doing a lot of sports. Yeah, so Ngobeni, yeah.
Okay.
But he calls himself Obi Nose.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, that's his stage name, I think.
And Kumo.
Yeah, Kumo is, it's 17 now.
Yeah.
Raising two boys, it's not easy. With all these challenges that are happening and all this bad influence and all that, but I'm grateful. I'm really blessed that they've grown up to become really good men, and I hope that they will hold on to those values, and continue to become good boys like they are now, and respecting not only women but respecting everyone that they get to interact with. So, I'm quite blessed. As I said to you earlier on, Maschava, we have been together now. By the way, it took me about 10 years before I got married to her after we had a firstborn. Why? Because she stayed in Bloemfontein.
Okay.
And I was now in Gauteng, and we're trying to, build something. Eventually, she moved and stayed with me. Yeah.
Sure.
And moving from Gauteng, I'm from Free State into Gauteng. It was not easy as well, because yes, I stayed with my aunt in Kagiso for some time, but I wouldn't have stayed there forever. So I had to make sure that I find my own place.
Yeah.
And I said to you earlier on that I'm probably going to be buried in Manzeville, because I looked at my movements coming back into Gauteng. After leaving my aunt's home, I went and got a place in Hillbrow.
Okay.
I stayed in Hillbrow, and I moved to Berea. I moved to Yeoville. I bought my first property at Lyndhurst, which is close to Alex. You must see that move.
Yeah.
Lyndhurst, and then from Lyndhurst, I bought my second property in Cosmo City, and then I moved to Rodiport. So there's a circle there.
Going back home.
That's taking
the circle of
home.
Life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm moving back home, I think. So yeah, I'm quite blessed. Penwell, I think I've been fortunate to really have Maschava on my side, and she's been very supportive. A career of a politician, someone that's aspired to be something in politics is not easy. You start as an activist, you are required to take money out of your own pocket to support activities of the party, and it's if you don't have an understanding partner, it can take a lot out of you, because you are taking money that's supposed to be feeding the family, but you are putting it in activities of a party that you don't even know whether it will be
correct.
It will come back, because you are doing this thing from the heart and from the love of the organization. So she's been really a pillar of strength for me, and up to today, she's forever side by side with me. Yesterday, we were at Rema Church with President Mashaba. She was there with me. It was exciting to see Kabelo.
Kabelo Mabalan Bugalav.
Bugalav, yeah.
Hey, he spits fire. I've been to Rema when he's preaching there.
He's very good. It's very inspiring from where he came from and what he's doing now. And so she's forever on my side, and I'm really, really grateful. But also my parents, they're still in Bloemfontein. Grace of God, they are both still in good health. Retired now, but also very, very supportive. My mom doesn't miss anything about ActionSA on YouTube.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, she will probably be watching this show very soon. So very, very supportive, and I think that's really what pushes me as well. And that we must be able to achieve the objectives that we achieve, but we must also remain humble and ensure that we don't disappoint them, because they're really expecting a lot from us. So that's really some of the things that really motivates me every morning to wake up and go and do more.
Yo, Funzi, I'd like to say, man, number one, thank you to Mama Maschaba for being by your side. I can only imagine. We don't have first families anymore. One of the few we know internationally was Barack and Michelle Obama. We don't see that anymore. So the beauty of highlighting the family structure and the nuclear family, the support and what you're saying about even your parents, you've got a really good foundation. And I just like to say you've been blessed. And I can imagine, listening to the type of human being you are, the blessings you've had traveling around this country, traveling around SADC, traveling to other parts of the world, staying in beautiful holiday homes, living in different parts of Johannesburg. I think you've had a really, really amazing experience. And you've probably got a much, much better perspective than most other people.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
We can get back to politics.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is from Daily Maverick. ActionSA was launched. Let me see. Will I put this link? I might put this link in the description. Road to 2024 elections. ActionSA's Funzi Ngobeni joins competitive race for Gauteng Premier. I just want to read this one part. Have I lost it now? Oh, here it is. ActionSA was launched amid the COVID-19 pandemic, which you alluded to, and contested elections for the first time in 2021, which would be a year later. It received 547,862 votes, making it the sixth largest party nationally, despite only competing in 6 of the country's 278 municipalities. 547, close to 548,000 votes, competing in 6 of the country's 278 municipalities. Now, when you look at the last national elections in 2019, I think, so you'd have the ANC at 10 million, you'd have the DA at 3.6 million, you'd have the EFF at 1.8 million. Then at number 4, you'd have the IFP at 588,000 votes. These are the numbers I'm comparing now.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to ask, and I keep forgetting to ask, Ntate Mashaba, what is ActionSA's secret formula? I'm convinced that you guys have got a secret formula. I'm just not sure if, like KFC chicken, maybe you're not allowed to share it. Your social media presence in 2021 reminded me of there's a documentary, I don't know if it's on Netflix, about how Obama's administration didn't have as big a budget as the Republicans, but they maximized it, especially through social media.
Yeah.
Analytica, I'm not sure what it's called. I'll find it. Do you guys have a secret formula in terms of social media and how you use it? Do you guys have a secret formula, which I'm learning now, on the power of branch mobilization? Is your secret formula something to do with concentrating on key municipalities and saying, look, we're not that big yet, so we'll kind of leave the other smaller ones, or the ones that have serious strongholds where we realize we'll be fighting against the wall? Or is there something else? I mean, Herman Mashaba, Michael Beaumont, yourself, there must be something you guys are doing right. And I keep telling people this, and they're not hearing me because I think there's something there that I think ActionSA, if you guys keep the momentum up, I'm expecting you guys to potentially be the fourth biggest party. Who knows, maybe even better in these 2024 elections.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's really what we are we are pushing for. And you are right. I mean, we had to take difficult decisions in 2021. It was not easy to agree and to convince all our members that let's only contest 3 municipalities in Gauteng. There was a demand, a panel from places like Mfuleni, here in Mohali City, our members were saying, no, we are ready. We want to contest this local government election. But internally, we knew that we were not ready, and we didn't have the resources to be able to contest all the 278 municipalities. So we took that difficult decision, disappointing some of our members. In fact, I think ActionSA as a new party, we've got few parties that actually came out of us, breakaway political parties, as a result of some of these difficult decisions that we took.
You don't want to mention some of them? Give them free mileage?
Yeah. I don't know whether they still exist. There's one that came up in KZN, was also called Action Something.
Okay.
But it's nowhere to be found. There's a party called Dope. Dope, yeah.
Okay.
DOP.
Okay.
I think they've got one seat in Tshwane.
Okay.
And they also went to other provinces as well. So those are some of the parties that came out of.
Bongani also left you guys.
Bongani is also.
He's a brilliant young man, by the way. If I may say, outside of politics.
Absolutely.
Bongani Baloyi, he runs Shiluba.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. He was my chairman.
Brilliant.
And I worked with him in the DA. A good guy, but we don't agree with the decision he took, but sure. It was his decision and we respect that. So yeah, we took a decision, difficult one, to say let's use our resources wisely.
Yeah.
Maximize
with what we have.
Maximize what we have. We contested 6 municipalities, but you're also correct that we maximized as well on digital platforms and on social media. And we've got a very strong team that is working behind the scenes, putting all this together, Do
you think you guys are the best?
No, I think there are other parties that are doing
better. They might have a bigger budget.
Yeah.
But in terms of ROI.
Yeah, no, you are right. I mean, for a small party like us, I always say we are punching way beyond our weight.
The documentary is called The Great Hack, and it's about a company called Cambridge Analytica, for people that want to see it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, I mean, we're really punching way ahead. So, I mean, I see other parties they consider as our opponents, and they are quite big. They're over 10 years old. They're in parliament. They've got huge budgets, but they're always fighting us on social media. But I think we did well there. The team is really, really doing exceptional work behind the scenes and working with our activists. But also very, very important point that you made, Penuel, is the groundwork, the branches, the structures of ActionSA. We started building the structures during People's Dialogue. We were, right in the middle of that COVID, we started building structures as far as Limpopo, KZN, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, Free State, everywhere. And we did that through social media.
Through social media?
Through social media. I did travel because remember that time I was National Director of Operation. And my responsibility was to establish the structures. So we built this the structures. Of course, I don't want to take credit alone. There's a team that was working with me.
Yeah.
And shout out to Boitumelo Molefe. She's a young lady. Yeah, she's a young lady that also joined me in the office. And there's a guy called Phakela Maitse.
Phakela Maitse.
Yeah, he's from the Ekurhuleni. And these colleagues are still with us. Boitumelo is now a councillor in the City of Johannesburg. Phakela is still working extremely hard in Ekurhuleni for us. And we had a gentleman called Dion Klute. May his soul rest in peace. He passed away due to COVID.
Dion Klute?
Dion Klute, yes. Yeah. We worked the social media. We used WhatsApp. We used Zoom, we had meetings with our activists using those platforms and building structures on the ground. We used a concept called neighbor-to-neighbor approach. Yeah. To say each and every voting district must have ActionSA in it. Meaning that we're not expecting ActionSA to bus people from Soweto to come and campaign in Alexandra. Yeah. We must have activists there. Doesn't matter whether they are 5 or 8, but it must be the one that must then
do the work in their own community
and grow those structures. So we've managed to build all these structures across the country, and it's assisting us to be where we are today. Of course, like I said earlier on, we lost some of the members because they were impatient and didn't understand why we're taking decisions that we took. But many of them stayed, and they were patient with our decision, and they are now heading those structures across the country. Beautiful. Working with the provincial chairperson that Herman appointed, because many of them obviously came late, but they also started their own structures as well, and brought in their own people to assist them to do so. But at least they found the foundation being laid there.
You guys did very well, and listening to you, I'm realizing you guys might go down as one of the COVID lockdown success stories. We had TikTok ballooned during that time. Podcast and Chill grew. MacG and Sol. Batu and Drips really became huge brands during that time. And it seems you guys really figured out and masterminded social media and alternative media during that time, where other parties maybe, because they used to being on the ground only, couldn't get that right. Yeah. So kudos to you. I'm very honest and open about who I vote for and how. It upsets certain people, and I've realized some people take offense because you're meant to say my vote is my secret. Yeah. I think I'm objective regardless of who I vote for. I voted for you guys in 2021 because I thought Untate Herman Mashaba had unfinished business as the mayor here. My mother did as well at the time. I'm sorry to mention her vote.
Thank you, ma'am.
And as I said at the beginning, I've been struggling to figure out who to vote for provincially, because I've picked someone for national because I'd like this gentleman to sit in parliament, not necessarily to be president. I've sat with Solim Simanga, the premier candidate for the DA in Gauteng. I'm not sure if you have any views on her. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, great brand for the EFF. A lot of people have been saying provincial structures are redundant and should be done away with. There's a lot of duplication of work. A lot of things get stuck at province. Solim Simanga confessed, luckily to me, to say provinces aren't as powerful as he wishes. He wishes they had like 65% power, where he believes they currently have under 20%. You're running for Premier of Gauteng. Your opinion on provincial structures, outside of, no, they work, when I come in, they're gonna... Do you think provincial structures are redundant? Do you think they make sense? Should we be looking to strengthen local municipalities and just have national and remove the provincial?
I've got a view. I've got that view as well. Let's make one example. The health department. Yeah. They've got what you call emergency services there, your ambulances. Yeah. In the City of Johannesburg, they were functioning very well. that department exists under public safety department.
Yeah.
And they went to the extent of training individuals, taking them overseas, and came back with a good experience and good knowledge and skills, and budget were allocated and given to them, and they were doing exceptionally well. For some reason, the province decided to take away the license from Johannesburg. And as I'm talking to you now, the ambulances, the staff, all of them are sitting doing nothing.
The ambulances as well, and the staff are sitting. When we say there's a shortage of ambulances, they're there, but they're not working.
They're not working
because of province.
Because of province. They started doing this when Herman was the mayor. We pushed back. We even threatened to go to court. And then they sort of back off. But I think during the Palazzo administration, they really pulled the carpet, and they
Dr. Mpo Palazzo.
Yes,
yeah.
And they took away that license. I know the MMC of Public Safety, EFF member, Dr. Chwaku.
Yeah, I've heard him here.
Speaks a lot about that as well, because it's really it disadvantages the community, because I mean there's a demand for ambulances in municipalities. Gauteng alone is not able to cater for the demand. So that license that they took away, they really it shows that they realize that they've got nothing to do. I mean, the Department of Health probably thought that taking away that license, bringing to the province, it will give them more activities, more things to do. I don't know what was the rationale about it, but for me, I think it will work best if EMS is run by local municipalities. It will work best if, for example, traffic lights, right? Because province, they've got provincial roads as well here in Johannesburg, and the traffic lights that are in those provincial roads ought to be maintained by the province. At some point, they realize that they don't have capacity to do that. They realize that it's actually more efficient if it's done by a local municipality.
Yeah.
And they contracted, they had a memorandum of understanding with the City of Johannesburg to do that. All that they had to do was to divert the budget that used to go to their department, and so that it can go to the City of Johannesburg. Yeah. They didn't do that. They committed to pay on month to month, and in the main, that is the reason why most of the provincial roads traffic lights are not working. They get vandalized, obviously, because we have that cancer now of infrastructure being vandalized.
Sure.
But if you look at the Golden Highway, from Soweto, from Eldorado Park, you drive towards Orange Farm, you won't find any traffic light working there. That's a provincial road. They've basically just thrown their hands in the air and said, we can't do anything. So they had a memorandum of understanding with City of Johannesburg, and then they stopped paying. I got into the municipality as MMC of Transport. I realized that the team is telling me that the province has not paid GRA for maintenance of their traffic lights.
Johannesburg Road Agency.
Yes. And then and I said, but let's have a conversation with the MEC there and find out what's the problem. So back and forth. And then we said, but what's the memorandum of understanding for if the other party is not sticking to the agreement, So we terminated that memorandum of understanding. We said, take back your traffic lights,
sure.
Because you're not paying us, maintain them and do what we have, because now we can't strain our budget that we should use for traffic lights that belongs to the city.
Sure.
And then
you guys don't pay us.
Yes, so again, it demonstrates that the province it's not really a layer that's really effective and that is needed. There are so many functions that we can talk about that could be done by local government. I always say to the other colleagues that the Amapanyaza situation,
Yes. I think there's about 6,000
yes,
wardens that were trained by our current Premier, Panyaza Lesufi.
Yes, and
of the ANC.
And maybe we must also talk about this state resources being used for campaigning, because I've got a view, Panuel, that maybe we need a legislation.
Let's park that. I'll remember it.
We'll
State
remember
resources.
Yeah.
I want to speak about Panyaza since you raised it.
Yeah, I was saying, I mean, that concept to sort of augment the law enforcement agencies that we have in the province, you can't fault it, because we need more boots on the ground.
Correct.
And crime is spiraled out of control.
The idea is good. The intention is good.
The intention is good,
yeah.
But they are located at the wrong place.
Okay.
For me, they need to be at the local level with your metro police. Working very closely with community-based policing, the patrollers on the ground. There must be a coordination between all this law enforcement, including the private firms, security firms that are on the ground doing work in most of our communities. Why I'm saying it's the province doesn't have a competency of managing the police. Sure. That competency lies with the nation. That's why all of us, we are saying there must be a devolution of powers to the province from the SAPS. And the ANC government have been refusing. I think Cape Town have been fighting. I know
the Western Cape has been fighting a lot. SAPS, national.
Yes.
When you try to get things done, it gets stuck there at national. You're like, please give us power to do our own thing here.
Exactly. You know, and it won't happen until someone takes over at national. So you don't have a competency to really get law enforcement to do what they're supposed to do. Your work can only be oversight, but you still want to have them on that level. So my view is that let's take all of them. Besides the fact that we need to take them out of the street and take them for further training, because Panyaza managed to cut corners and is actually risking the lives of the same people that he has given jobs to.
Because they can't do anything, to be honest.
Exactly.
They're like car guards.
Yes.
If your car gets stolen, the car guard's like, ish.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. He doesn't even have impempe.
Exactly.
These wardens, what power do they have? Do they have guns? Do they have handcuffs? Do they have the ability to enforce some type of violence?
It's really crazy. And what scares me the most, Panel, is that I'm waiting for litigations that will come against the state because of the negligence of this government. Because you can't have partially trained policemen on the ground and doing what we don't know what they are doing. One of these days they are going to do something out of line. And
hurt someone
and
who
hurt
can
someone
themselves.
Exactly. And government will be sued. So and all that. So it's really irresponsible. But it also demonstrates that the province doesn't have competency to do most of these things. Let's empower local government, and empower them not only by giving them budgets, but by giving them skills and, fighting for more budgets from national, going overseas, working with them on their IDPs, and ensuring that they are developing in a manner that it bridges the inequalities that we have in the country, deal with spatial inequality, all those things. It can be done by local government, but the province needs to be able to assist them.
The IDP is the Integrated Development Plan.
Yes, COGTA, as a department in the province, has a constitutional obligation to assist municipalities to develop their IDPs.
COGTA is Governance and Traditional Affairs?
Yes,
okay.
Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department. It's currently led by a gentleman called Mzi Khumalo in the province.
Mzi Khumalo, someone else?
Mzi Khumalo, yeah.
Someone else, or is same name?
Which one do you know?
Yeah, I know the one that has lots of money.
I don't know. I don't know him. But
okay, no problem. Please continue, sir.
Yeah, so COGTA has an obligation to assist municipalities. And I think those that came up with the law, the thinking was that let's ensure that municipalities, when they develop their IDPs, they speak to each other, meaning that when Tshwane, Ekurhuleni and Johannesburg develop their IDPs. They must go towards coordinating, human settlement, road infrastructure, rail infrastructure, and ensuring that we deal with this thing, spatial inequality, building houses as far as possible. So the idea was that COCTA at the province will coordinate these 3 municipalities and will show that their IDP speaks to each other, so that development, when it happens in Gauteng, and I'm just making an example with the 3, but there's 9 municipalities in the province. All of them, they need to be guided by COCTA, in the province, and people need to sit around the table and say, okay, what are you doing in Ekurhuleni? Let's see whether that can be able to be sort of linked with what Tshwane is doing and Joburg is doing, and eventually we will be able to see development, being coordinated in the province. So I think that it's lacking at the moment at the province. We need to maximize the constitutional obligation of COCTA to assist and to empower municipalities, and then you'll see province will have very less to do, and later on, I think we will have to take a decision.
Jeez, you're about to say this thing I want to ask.
We deal away with Gauteng, with the provinces, and just have national and local government
the MEC, Mr. Mziga Ifani. Mzi Khumalo. Yeah, it's No, that other guy has got serious cash. I don't think he has the capacity. But look, Ntate Cyril Ramaphosa came back, but I think this is another gentleman. So yeah, you answered the question before I asked to finalize your personal opinion. Doesn't necessarily have to be ActionSA of. At some point, the province will need to be done away with. But for now, we need to kind of fix what we can fix, help them with some type of oversight to streamline, and then hopefully later get rid of it and empower the local and make sure that works. You wanted to speak about using state resources for campaigning. What is that about?
Yeah, look, I mean, and I've been observing this for some time, and I see it's really gaining momentum. Successive governments, they are about to lose power, or they realize that they're going to have a tough election. Closer to election, they start unleashing projects and initiatives like Nasi Spani. Like, I was telling someone that prior to 2016 election, when Herman became the mayor, prior to that election, there was a mayor called Mayor Pakstow.
I remember Pakstow. I used to like him as well under the ANC.
Yes. I think they realized that they were about to lose power, just like now with Panyaza. And Pax unleashed a number of projects. Vulindlela Josie, Josie at work,
just before elections, to kind of make things difficult and also to kind of campaign.
Kind of campaign, because just like Panyaza is talking about unemployment now, in 2015 towards 2016 election, Mayor Pakstow was trying to bring those initiatives and says, we care. Young people, here are the jobs, There's Vulindlela, there's Josie at work. And they came up with all types. And they also used, obviously, a lot of billboards. And Pakstow will have billboards across the city, because he got a clean audit on one of the department or so. And it was all his face around the city. So
Panyaza's good at branding, by the way, on his own. We'll speak about ActionSA and how good they are with social media and the like. Yeah. You have to give credit where it's due. Panyaza actually, because for the longest time, people thought he was the Minister of Education. And he was just the MEC of Education in Gauteng. So he goes hard on the branding.
On the social media. No, he does. He's a spin doctor. He was so he knows how to do these things. But my point is that do that with your party money. If we are in a campaign, I'm saying that. And that's the point I was making, to say, how about we come up with a legislation that says once the president has proclaimed elections, no programs of government must be launched. And we are all campaigning. And each and every party uses their own resources.
Focus on the work that's already there.
Exactly.
And don't come with new work in inverted commas as a form of campaign.
Exactly. I'm saying this because if I get elected on the 29th of May, I must start delivering from that day. I must not wait for 2 months before election, the new elections, for me to get a new mandate and then start unleashing programs that time.
Sure.
Using state resources when I had the entire 4 years to demonstrate that I care about the residents of Gauteng.
Sure.
So I must hit the ground running and deliver and be focused only on delivering services, so that come the next election, I shouldn't be worried about whether I will get another mandate or not. I shouldn't be so desperate to then start using state resources to campaign for a new mandate. I should go there confident that I've delivered on my promises, and then confident that the electorate will then say, this man, let's give him the second term. So I'm saying maybe we need to consider a legislation like that says when the president announced and proclaimed the elections, no more cutting of ribbons, cutting of ribbons there, unleashing new schemes and so forth. I think that will then level the playing fields, and people will not be looting like they're looting, because we don't know up until we get into government how much of this money is getting lost.
You speak about using state resources. I just want to clarify. You're not saying people like Mr. Panyaza Lesufi are taking money and campaigning for the ANC, let's say, on a billboard. But they will take the money and almost put themselves as these heroes.
Yeah.
So that when people see them, they're like, hey, this is the guy. Yeah. But it's not necessarily an ANC tag.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what they are doing. If you look at the State of the Province address, they came up with hundreds and hundreds of posters, put them on the polls. Those posters are still there. You don't see Panyaza's ANC Premier candidate poster out there.
Yeah.
You see Panyaza the Premier.
Sure.
As face there,
I hear you. It's slick.
It's very slick, yeah. And that's exactly what they are doing. Billboards all over, launching these campaigns, and of course the ANC structures tend to also, do graphics to say Nasi Spani ANC initiative.
Sure.
Of course they are taking advantage of what this guy is doing with state resources. So to stop all that. Let's stop using state resources ahead of elections.
I have what did I want to say now? I have a question. I don't know if you know the answer. The budget that government gives to political parties for campaigning, I don't know if you know the number, because I was reading an article, I saw something about 5 million, and I discussed it with a lady who's the leader of the Organic Humanity Movement, OHM, Lauren Bernardo. And I was saying 5 million. She's like, it's not 5 million. I think she said something like 350 million a year that comes from taxpayers' money to political parties that are in parliament to campaign. I don't know if you know the answer to that.
I don't know the exact amount, but it's higher than 350. Altogether, it comes to around 1.2 billion or something.
Is that per year or per cycle?
It's per year, per year.
That goes to political parties?
Exactly.
In parliament, from taxpayers' money.
They will share that
based on how
proportionally.
How many
based
seats?
On, yes. So that's
over 1 billion.
Yes.
Every year, coming from taxpayers' money to go to an ANC, DA, EFF, and other members of parliament to say, here's money to go and campaign.
Absolutely. I think EFF,
outside of private funding.
Outside of the funding that I get, I think EFF got something like 48 million recently. And it actually went up. They managed to increase it in Parliament recently with a new budget that was, So, and that's one item in Parliament that you don't see other parties opposing.
Of course, never.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask earlier, why would you and Ntate Herman Mashaba not join the EFF if you had such a good working relationship with them when you were running the city of Joburg? What would be the reasons to be like, we're frustrated with the DA, we're leaving, but we've been working well with these guys, but we don't want to join them. What is the issue? Is it ideological or something else?
No, I think it is ideological. There's no doubt about it, because we did indicate that at a local level, we can work with EFF anytime.
Okay.
Because it's about the the bread and butter issues, fixing the traffic lights, ensuring that water is running in our homes, electricity. So those things we don't disagree with them on, And in fact, even issues that we sort of disagreed with them, we convinced each other that actually we don't disagree. I mean, the issue of insourcing of security guard and cleaners.
Instead of tenders.
Instead of tenders,
we work
said,
inside.
let's. So there was an issue of taking these hijacked buildings in the city of Joburg and giving them to the private sector. EFF, when it comes to private sector, they always say no.
Yeah.
They will say government must do it. And give this for free to our people.
Sure.
But we sat around the table. We looked at the balance sheet of the city. That this government will not be able to do it. And if we take these buildings, we can't then leave them idling, because then they're going to be reoccupied and re-hijacked, So where do we go? Let's go to the private sector, And we had a number of meetings with them. Eventually we agreed that that's the route that we all have to take. Put away what your views about the private sector, because sometimes when we say private sector, they think white people. But private sector is made up of white, Indian, colored, black people are there as well. So we agreed to that we are going to give these buildings to the private sector. So we agree on certain things at local government, But when we go to national and provincial election, clearly we differ ideologically.
Do you believe in ActionSA beyond Herman Mashaba and Michael Beaumont? You guys look like you're a very well-oiled and well-run machine. But I'm trying to figure out if ever Ntati Herman Mashaba decided, you know what, I've done my time, I want to focus on my marriage, my kids, my grandkids. Michael Beaumont decides to do something else as well. Do you think ActionSA is that strong a machine that it can last outside of the two of them?
Absolutely. I think we've got depth in leadership there.
Yeah.
I think he's been working extremely hard, Mr. Mashaba, to identify talent, and he's unapologetic about looking for the best talent. And to come in, because in politics sometimes we tend to be gatekeepers. Because I worked with Mashaba, therefore I must then gatekeep and nobody else must come in, So I think in ActionSA we are quite clear that we want the best
merit,
that can be able to assist us to turn around. And he has identified a lot of individuals that are coming to add a lot of value. He calls them Team Fix South Africa members. They are going with him to Parliament. Some of them, you'll find them in the provincial legislature as well, that we'll be working with. But even in our structures, there's upcoming young people that are really so strong that they'll be able to replace us tomorrow. So I'm quite confident that we are building a very good timber, of our own. And Mr. Mashaba, he always says he hates this job. He's more happier when he's making money. So. And he can't wait to go and make money and enjoy his time with his family. But he's always saying, I will only leave politics after I've removed the ANC of power. And I think all of us, I mean, I look at myself. Really, that's why I'm in politics. That's why I joined. Politics after my private sector and moved from one party to another up until I'm here, because I really want to see ANC out of power, because really many of our social problems, many of our issues here in the country, whether you look at immigration, whether you look at the health care, you look at crime and gender-based violence, it can be linked to not so policies, but lack of implementation of policies by the current government.
I've got two more questions. The first one is, I don't know if you have any views or you'd like to say anything about the people you're competing against, specifically the big names. You've mentioned Dupanyaza Lesufi, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, Usisi Nomama Vuyiswa Ramokhopa from Rise Mzansi. I'm not sure if Kenny Gunene is the candidate for the PA.
Yes.
Solim Simang of the DA. I think those are the more popular ones that people may know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any views on them or not as the people you'll be competing against. And then I've got one more question thereafter.
No, I think they are very good individuals. I don't know all of them.
Okay.
But I've read about all of them, and I think they're very good individuals. I think it's a tough competition.
Sure.
And I know Vuyiswa invited us for a debate on Twitter sometime. I did respond to say, let's have it, you know.
Sure.
But I was also quite clear that it won't be useful for me and you to have a debate without the incumbent.
Sure.
You know, let's bring in Panyaza so that we can have a proper debate. I don't know whether that will happen. But I mean, even an individual like Panyaza, I respect him. I think he has achieved a lot as an individual, you know, and also with all the mess that he caused in the education, the corruption with regards to COVID money that got lost,
fumigating or whatever.
Yeah,
schools.
fumigating schools that were closed, and there was no one in the school. And all these schemes that he is coming with, I respect him as an individual.
He's a very nice guy.
You know,
he's a very nice guy.
I met him the other day. We were in church, and I said, "Good morning, outgoing."
Jeez.
He was laughing. He says, "Yeah, it's hello." You know, so yeah. I mean, and we also met the other time when. At William Nicol, is it the Nicol Way? When it was renamed to
Winnie Mandela.
Mandela.
Winfred, recently.
Yeah, the mall.
The mall, yeah.
Yes,
Precinct.
Winifred Mandela Precinct.
Precinct,
yes.
yeah.
So we met there as well. So, I mean, I know Soli from the DA. We have worked well together previously. We differed quite a lot, but not really to the point of, you know,
sure.
But
not a nice guy.
Yeah, you know, very nice Soli. So I think eventually what will happen, and it's clearly it will happen, is that we are going to have to work together. Whether we will be in a coalition, or you know there will be in opposition and others will be in government.
Yeah,
we are going to work together, and we'll have to put our differences aside and see how we can be able to then assist each other on turning around Gauteng.
The ANC is going under 50 provincially. Definitely.
I think they are sitting. Looking at the last election, local government election, they were sitting at around 38%, even less than that. And remember, we contested only 3 municipalities. So we are
now you're about to flex more.
We are the one that actually bringing them down that much, you know.
Sure.
And because we are taking votes from them in Soweto, we are taking votes from them in places that they never used to have a competition, you know. Of course, EFF has done that as well.
Sure.
And we came in and we even did more.
Yeah.
But we are not only taking votes away from them. There we are also very competitive in other areas, whether it's the Indian community, the suburban community.
Yeah.
They've totally been, being dealt with there in those communities. So we are confident that we are going to drop them even further. And if we do not emerge as the winner, we will be the leading party in this province.
In opposition.
Yes.
Last question is spicy, but I have to ask it almost of every black leader that was in the DA. Do you believe the DA is a racist party? What would you say about the DA, just for people that currently vote for it, specifically non-white, non-conservative people?
The fact that they were refusing us to give services to black people.
Poor black people.
Poor black people, you know, it makes them very racist. And you can go up and down and say, no, we are not, look at our policies. But we always say, don't judge us by what we say.
Sure.
Judge us by what we do, you know. And And it might not be all of members of DA or all leaders of DA, but there are really elements, and currently they are in the majority, that really are racist in that organization.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can speak into one of the cameras. Can we? Sir, this is your time to shine.
Yeah.
For the province, maybe even nationally, if you may. If you can speak to the people there on why you believe they should vote for ActionSA at a national level, and more specifically for your ambitions for the province, please.
Yeah, South Africans, the 29th of May, it's a very important moment for South Africa. I think all of us know that. We are asking you to consider ActionSA as an option. A lot of South Africans in the past have said we do not know who to vote for. We don't have another political party that demonstrate that they can govern. ActionSA will be able to govern. We can guarantee you that we will run this country, run this province for all South Africans. We will put South Africans first. And we are quite clear about that, and we are unapologetic that South Africans will be the first one to consider in everything that we are doing. Here in the province in Gauteng, we are going to launch our manifesto in the next week or two. Key around that manifesto is to build the infrastructure, or rebuild the infrastructure that has been destroyed for the past 30 years here in Gauteng. Gauteng is growing in terms of population, but it's not growing in terms of investment. And that's what we need to fix here in Gauteng. So 29th of May, go out there and vote for Herman Mashaba as the president of this country, and vote for ActionSA, and vote for Funzi Ngobeni to be the premier of Gauteng. Thank you very much.
Mfana wase Manziville, Creersdorp in the Woesrand.
Yes.
Funzi Ngobeni, thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to hopefully sitting with you after elections, whether on a platform or just privately, and having a chat.
It has been awesome, man. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I'm honored.
Thank you, sir.
I've also cracked an interview with Premier.
This guy. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.